Falcon 9's first successful landing. This grainy video captures onboard footage of the Falcon 9 during what could be called its very first successful landing. This milestone occurred before the rocket ever touched down on solid ground or the drone ship. To reach that point, SpaceX initially aimed to prove that the rocket could autonomously guide itself toward a precise target and come to a stop nearly exactly where planned. How not to land an orbital rocket booster. Back in 2013, SpaceX attempted a soft water landing, but the Falcon 9 came in too fast and exploded on impact. This time, however, everything went perfectly, and SpaceX gained valuable lessons from this initial landing. Despite this success, it took numerous tries before SpaceX nailed a real landing on a drone ship. It's fascinating to read the comments on those early videos. Viewers then lived in a world where SpaceX landings were still far from routine. Now, after over 128 successful landings, SpaceX has essentially mastered this technique. Yet the company is turning its attention to mastering another critical challenge: the Starship booster. Booster 7 has commenced its extended testing campaign, and despite some dramatic setbacks, we anticipate seeing it and its counterpart, SN-24, attempt the very first orbital flight of a Starship rocket. To clarify, this will be the largest and most powerful rocket ever launched, equipped with 33 Raptor engines on the booster alone. With such complexity, many things could go wrong, even if the rocket only lifts off a few meters before returning. The most thrilling part will undoubtedly be the booster's landing. In this video, we explore the question: will SpaceX attempt to catch the booster on its very first try? The sensible answer might be no. But if they don't try it on the first flight, then when will they? SpaceX's orbital test flight plan. Some time ago, SpaceX filed a brief plan for Starship's inaugural orbital test flight, though it lacked many specifics. Since then, numerous boosters and Starships have come and gone, and the Raptor engine has evolved significantly, so the plan has likely changed. The original plan called for Starship to launch from Boca Chica, with the booster separating about 170 seconds into flight. The booster would then reignite its engines and return toward the coast, aiming for a soft water landing roughly 20 miles offshore. Meanwhile, the second stage would continue to orbit before re-entering and performing a similar splashdown about 60 miles off the coast of Kauai. One intriguing detail in that document is the distinction in terminology. The ship's landing was described as a splashdown, while the booster's was referred to only as a touchdown. Nowhere did it mention the booster executing a controlled or gentle water landing. This could imply that SpaceX never truly planned a water landing for the booster or intended to recover it via a more conventional method, such as landing on a drone ship or ocean platform. The document also noted the booster's landing would be in the Gulf of Mexico. More recently, SpaceX has posted job listings for marine recovery engineers to support the Starship program. Although these listings don't reference SpaceX's oil rigs, which are currently being converted into floating launch and landing platforms, they hint that SpaceX might still plan to land Super Heavy on a barge or floating platform. Another possibility is using one of these stripped-down oil rigs as a flat landing pad at sea, though that seems unlikely for the first few booster landings, given the lack of evidence for landing legs or rig readiness. SpaceX's updated launch plan. Recently, SpaceX revealed an updated launch plan offering more clues. The flight path remains largely similar, but it now states the booster might perform a partial return to land either in the Gulf of Mexico or back at Starbase, where it could be caught by the launch tower. This suggests SpaceX might attempt to catch the booster on its very first flight, a daring and nerve-wracking prospect. Still, this wouldn't be surprising given SpaceX's track record of pushing limits on debut attempts. The Falcon Heavy test flight, for example, was the first time SpaceX simultaneously fired so many Merlin engines, separated multiple boosters, and successfully landed 2 boosters simultaneously. Another reason to believe they might attempt the catch on the first try is how they manage risk with Falcon 9 landings. The rocket usually aims for a spot offset from the drone ship, so if something goes wrong like engine failure or grid fin issues, it will safely miss the ship and fall into the ocean without damaging equipment. If all systems function normally, the booster maneuvers toward the landing pad. SpaceX seems to be employing a similar approach with Super Heavy. If the booster flies perfectly, they might confidently aim for the chopstick's catch arms. If not, it will fall harmlessly into the water. Even then, they might perform a catch simulation by firing the landing burn, softening the splashdown. I'm hopeful the booster will touch down gently, so SpaceX can tow it back for inspection. Imagine the amazing photos like when a Falcon 9 ended up in the water. Why would SpaceX risk a catch? On the surface, attempting a catch on the very first flight seems incredibly risky, especially with all the hardware around the launch pad that could be destroyed, causing huge setbacks. But SpaceX's confidence likely stems from its success with Falcon 9, as both rockets use similar control methods, grid fins, and gas thrusters to steer back. However, Super Heavy is a completely different beast and will probably throw unexpected challenges. Just look at Booster 7's recent test, where firing all 33 engines at once caught SpaceX off guard. What happens if the catch goes wrong? How severe could the damage be? Despite Super Heavy's enormous size, it's mostly empty when landing, with only a small amount of propellant left for the landing burn. So even if it explodes, it shouldn't be more damaging than previous Starship mishaps. The biggest concern would be the booster missing completely and crashing into the tower or tank farm. Given Super Heavy's mass and speed, such an impact could cause serious, irreparable damage, a devastating loss. On the bright side, SpaceX is building a second Starship tower in Florida, which is progressing rapidly and should be near completion by year's end. Looking ahead, even if SpaceX doesn't attempt the catch this time, the launch will be spectacular. Watching a fully stacked Starship fueled to the brim on the pad will be both exhilarating and terrifying. And if they do catch Super Heavy on the first try, it will be one of the most astonishing feats we've ever witnessed. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Do you think SpaceX will attempt to catch Super Heavy on the maiden flight? Will Starship even lift off successfully? If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. It helps YouTube know you appreciate my content and supports channel growth. For an ad-free experience and early access to videos, consider becoming a patron. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.